himself, but he was an organizer here in Oxnard about 40 to 50 years ago. He organized with the UFW. He was worked with braceros and with farm workers. As we know, Oxnard is, people are employed in conditions of modern-day plantation-style slavery, in many cases. Out there in the heat, toiling to put vegetables on the plates of the U.S. Oxnard, like much of Central California, is the salad bowl for the United States. And people work in horrifying conditions. And Al has devoted his life to bettering the conditions of laborers, not just farm workers, but union workers. He's a seasoned organizer, and we're constantly learning a lot from him. And now in his advanced age, he's still fighting. He's still fighting on a daily basis. He's giving me calls. Hey man, are you doing this? How is this looking? He's on top of it. And we're constantly learning a lot from him, and we're working on different projects. But because of Al, we have Cruz Reynoso, and also because of LACLA Sacramento, I want to give a shout out to LACLA. AFL-CIO in Sacramento, who have done a lot and brought a lot of people here, who've been very active in terms of addressing the injustices, in terms of police brutality and the utter arrogance and violent nature of the police relations with our communities. So, without any further ado, I'm going to pass the mic on to Brother Al.
I want to thank you all, but I'm so used to being a rebel rouser and troublemakers, I can't help it, but I'm just going to have to get into it with you guys today. But, ¿se puede? Sí, se puede! I'm sorry, ¿se puede? Sí, se puede! We have a job to do, and that job is that we need to organize, and we need to fight back, and we need to hold people accountable. I believe, I'm not injecting anything, just my belief, is the very core of the judicial system that rots and reeks with needing to be reformed to the application of law as it relates to justice for our community. After all, they should represent the interests of people. So I say, Kamala Harris, we're coming to see you. That there be an investigation of all the county DAs. That's right. In this state. Or being corrupt with the law, then they need to go to jail too. Right. They need to go to prison. I want to just take it out here now and thank you for allowing me to speak to you and all the work that you're going to do. And this is the beginning for all of you, because to me you're all organizers. Going back to doing the work is necessary, because this is a long struggle. That's right. The man I'm going to introduce to you, I feel honored to present to you because of the work that he's done all his life. Us old little guys, okay? So I want to introduce you to a man who formed an independent civil rights commission in regards to the killing of a farm worker in Yolo County who was shot by 3 deputy sheriffs, undercover sheriffs in the back. That he's been working with us for this commission and other cases too. I want to present to you the Honorable Supreme Court Justice Cruz Reynoso.
Pues todos tenemos mucho trabajo que hacer, ¿verdad? pero les debo de platicar que tengo entendido que se había dicho que esta junta iba a ser de una junta anti-policía, ¿verdad? Y francamente, yo no soy de ese sentimiento. The solutions, and let me just tell you, and they're broad. I worked with Cesar Chavez in the community service organization, even before she started organizing farm workers. She did start organizing farm workers here in Oxnard, but he was still with the CSO, but not with the UFW. That came later. And we in the CSO believed that the most important thing was to have everybody, particularly young people, register to vote and vote. Those who run for office, pay attention to those who vote. Young people between 18 and 24 have the lowest registration and voting record of any age group. And yet young people have the power to change the state, it seems to me. So we've got to be engaged civically. Secondly, we don't have anybody right now who takes charge of investigating whatever there's a killing by a police officer. The Attorney General of California used to have on his website that that's one of their duties they have. They've taken that off their website. We've got to put pressure before the Attorney General of California, who's a good person, to nonetheless to reinvigorate that. We need true investigations of these matters, not investigations by the same police department, by the same district attorney's office. Are more interested in protecting the police than doing a truthful investigation. And that's got to be the federal government or the Attorney General of the state of California, and she's not doing her job.
That's right.
Secondly, we're at a community college. The students here, the Mecha students and others, have a perfect opportunity for a statewide organization. There are community colleges all over the state. I myself graduated from a community college. In fact, a few days ago, I was honored by the National Organization of Community Colleges. And it seems to me that you have Cuenta organizations, NASA organizations, I'm sure, and all or practically all, because you have Black Lawyers Association, you have those who are interested in justice. There are folk, I am sure, in every one of those community colleges that will be concerned, as all of us are here, for that. And we need a national group to lobby in Sacramento, a national group to meet with the local legislatures, a national group to keep statistics. You know, we always hear about how many officers have been killed on duty, and rightly should, because they do an important piece of work for us. How often have you heard how many farm workers get killed in the fields? Or in this case, how many citizens get killed by police officers? I think most Californians will be shocked to hear how many people actually get killed. And when I say most citizens, I'm talking particularly about those citizens who think highly of the police, who don't believe that anything can go wrong. And let me emphasize again that I'm not against police. I respect them. I think they often bring peace to our communities. They are very much a necessary, essential part of our community. But that doesn't mean that we need police that don't do their jobs, that don't believe in justice. And so if we truly participate, as we did in the CSO, and registering, and worrying about campaigns, on getting the vote out, and on educating one another, I think we will indeed succeed. Por eso les digo, como siempre se debe firmar un discurso con vivas, ¿verdad? ¡Que viva! ¡Que viva toda la gente que está aquí hoy!
result of a violent incident during his policing career and is determined to help officers prevent and cope with this disorder. Alex will address the increase in police killings, the impacts of PTSD amongst officers, and the racism ingrained in the culture of police agencies.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, I have all these notes here, and I've just listened to all these amazing speakers today talk, and I'm like, wow, just just so amazing. But especially, it's important to discuss all this, because it is an epidemic. I worked in one of the most notorious police stations ever known, the Rampart Division. I went there as a young rookie officer from the police academy. I was assigned right from the get-go. The topics that we're going to discuss here today, the subject matters we're going to go into, are going to make people very uncomfortable and mad. I started talking about this, I would say probably give or take 12 years ago when I left the department. It was at a stage in my life where I thought I had literally gone crazy. As you just mentioned, I had an incident my second year as an officer where I had witnessed a woman being attacked and robbed downtown Los Angeles at the corner of 8th and Broadway, where I had observed her getting robbed by a gang member. I was supposed to go to a wedding that day, and with my then wife, didn't have no children yet, and I was just minding my own business, driving my brand new car, and as I saw this robbery taking place, I was faced with the decision to become involved or not to become involved, and for a second I said, I'm not going to get involved, I'm just going to keep going. So what ended up happening was I pulled over. I caught the guy. He didn't even realize that I had seen him, and I snatched him up. I didn't hit him. I didn't do anything. I just grabbed him. The lady came running up to me, and I told her, call the police, call 911, and she took off and went and did that. While I was holding on to this character here, his 6 buddies showed up, okay? And, they began asking me who I was. I told them I was the police, that their friend had robbed someone. And as I'm holding on to him, I can feel him tensing up. And, he takes off running. So I go chasing after him, and as I go chasing after him, I hear the windows of my brand new car being smashed. They steal my badge, they steal my gun, and at this point, as the guy's running away, I run back, I take my police baton out of the car, out of the driver's side, and next thing I know, it's me against 6. So at this time, everything starts going really slowly. Keep in mind, this is 8th and Broadway, this is downtown Los Angeles, and I'm thinking to myself, how in the hell did I get myself here to begin with? And at that point, I'm thinking, I'm going to die, or something crazy is going to happen. And so I pull out my gun. And as I pull out my gun, I tell these guys, I'm yelling at the top of my voice in Spanish and English, Policía, las manos para arriba. And these guys basically told me, mátame, shoot me, kill me. So that didn't compute at that time. It just didn't make any sense to me. And as I was holding my gun, I see this woman holding this child in her arms, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is great. What if I miss this guy? And, it was 6 months after the Rodney King incident. And so I was just thinking, okay, next headlines, off-duty officer shoots unarmed men. That's what went through my mind. At that point, this lady, I had walked backwards into the middle of the street, and this woman had stopped to tell me to get in the car, they're going to beat you up. I said, no, I'm not going to leave my car. And it was then shortly after, as I'm standing there like a pendejo, just looking at everything that's going on, that a car comes around and runs me over. So I go flying up in the air, and the next thing I know, my right ankle is broken, and I'm trying to get up, and it's just like flip-flopping. I'm watching these guys break my weight. I'm holding my gun. I wanted to shoot them, kind of like in the movies type of thing, but I didn't. And so a couple minutes later, it seemed like eternity to me. I saw the helicopter up ahead, and the next thing you know, about 1 million black and whites or so, it seemed, showed up. They made a big deal about it in the newspapers. I didn't think anything of it. I was just, trying to do my job, essentially, and trying to help out the lady. The problems didn't happen, however, until I came back to the department. My partners were kind of upset with me. They were like, "Why didn't you shoot the MFers?" You know, that was the first thing, you know, that they said. "Why'd you get involved?" You know, we're not supposed to get involved. We're supposed to drive with blinders. And so my thinking, my belief was that, hey, this could have been my mom, could have been my sister, and that was my mentality back then. So after hearing all this, all the jokes, you know, gimpy and just teasing and what have you, I became angry, and I decided to take it out on the public. So that is where I became from a good cop to a bad cop. Now, a lot of people now, they're talking about PTSD, especially in particular to the military situation where we're having all these really bad shootings, military guys going off, killing people, going out into these little villages, killing the Afghans, the Iraqis, and things like that. There's a lot of news regarding that, okay? And yes, I did develop this post-traumatic stress, which the indicators are reliving the incidents, you know, having it go into your mind. And with military, with law enforcement, they do see what they call a lot of critical incidents. Critical incidents are those incident scenes where you see a murder, where you see the victims of murders, where you see children who are the victims of molestations and things like that. And so with me, I was reliving that incident all the time. And so with my situation, anytime I saw a gangbanger, I magnified it a whole lot more. And it wasn't just something that I took out with the police, it was something that I took out with my ex-wife. I remember probably about 3 months after the incident, I was having a really bad dream. I grabbed her by the hair and I started hitting her. And it was a whole different world now, is what it was going. But with that said, with the PTSD, I believe that more of the problem, you know, and being honest, because after I left law enforcement, I had to try to figure out, or rather I wanted to figure out what the heck happened to me. Because I didn't sign up for this. And as the good judge said here, most police officers, I believe, they come on for honorable intentions. Most, okay? There's some that have bullying issues, some of them that have, you know, mental problems, and probably never should have been officers to begin with. But me, I really felt that I wanted to help people. You know, I had grown up with watching 1 Adam 12, Dragnet. I always wanted to be the good guy. When I was a little boy, you know, playing cops and robbers, I didn't want to be the bad guy. So, you know, it's the culture, I believe, that is the problem within racism. Now, the culture goes back, way back, and I think it's something that no one's really talked about, and that's the issue of racism. You know, usually our black brothers have been very good in you know, talking about it, but then you get another side, whether it's Latinos or whites themselves, they say, oh, you're throwing the race card out here, you know, you're gonna throw that black thing here. But racism is something that I learned as a police officer that is very much alive, okay, especially in LA. I'll give a couple of examples here. I had a very close person that I respected that actually helped bring me on the police department, a white officer, and upon graduating from the LAPD, he took me to the area of Nickerson Gardens, which is in the area of Watts, Imperial and Central, and there I am standing in my nice little police uniform, about 40 pounds thinner, and we're just kind of looking and hanging out, standing around, and then he says, look at these fun people. And I kind of ignored the remark, what do you mean by fun? And then he says it again, what do you think of these fun people? And then I finally asked him, you keep on saying these are fun people, what's the deal? And he goes, these are some effed up niggers. And yeah, and so I was kind of like, oh, you know, and then he was laughing, you know, thinking it was really, really funny. Another incident that I had was with a Latino officer working in the area of Rampart. We had run into a home that was an immigrant resident where they had, you know, taken a lot of the undocumented people, the coyotes, would take them to these little flop houses where they would keep them there for people to pick them up. You know, once they paid their money, they'd release them. So we got a call from a suspicious neighbor, and we went into the location. We had backup units in the back and in the front, and my partner and myself were asked to go in to do the search. So as soon as we go in, there's that pungent smell of urine, and it just stunk, cockroaches running all over the place, and you know, old refried beans on the floor. And of course, we ran into about 20, 25 undocumented, scared, Mexicans, Central Americans, or whatever they were. My partner, upon seeing all this, goes, "What a bunch of dirty Mexicans," right? So I looked at him like, "Hey, what's up with you, you know?" And he goes, "Oh, not you." And so I was, like I said, kind of taken aback, but it appeared to be after a while that this was the mindset. And traditionally, minorities have pointed the finger at whites, Caucasians, that, they're racist, white people, okay? What I saw was the transformation, eventually of myself too, of becoming a racist with blacks, with Latinos, and Asians, okay? And it appeared to be that all of this was caused due to a military brainwashing mindset, okay? Where you had to be part of that system, all right? And as a good judge over here was saying again, we need to challenge this mentality, this state of being, with breaking what is known as the Code of Silence, okay? Code of Silence is basically someone coming forward and saying how things really are. It's not nothing new. There was an officer back in the early 70s who came forward through the NYPD, a guy by the name of Serpico. Frank Serpico, who happens to be a personal friend of mine. Being a PI, I was able to lend him and eventually track him down. He was like, "How'd you get my number?" But he became infamous and very famous because of a movie that Al Pacino played in his amazing story, in which he came out and basically, as an active duty cop, he challenged the system. And in challenging the system, they demonized him, they criminalized him, as they do so many other people here today. And basically, in the end, 1 week after he testified before the Knapp Commission, laying out how everybody from the bottom to the top was on the take, he was shot. His partners didn't show up. There was no backup for him. And basically, he left himself of law enforcement back in the 80s after his dad was assaulted by the sheriffs. Okay, he became someone that, this person that I was discussing, the Mr. Fun guy, that was very hated because he would go after bad police officers. Now, these guys who are law enforcement, a lot of them, they do believe they're doing the right thing, okay? But most of them, they're, like how I said earlier, they have been led to believe that, what was the word the judge said? A bunker mentality, or what I call the us versus them complex. Okay, where they tell you, it's us against them, everyone else is bad, and so we have to go after them. And the funny thing about that is when an officer makes a mistake, usually in his personal life, because what happens is, like with me, I had a spillover effect with my personal life. I was having nightmares, I was having family problems with my wife, and so they kind of stayed where they protected me for a while. Okay, things I probably might have gone to jail for. Okay, I was drinking. I can't tell you how many times I'd get pulled over, I'd pull out my badge, and like, "Oh, okay, go." Or they even give me a ride home. Okay, that would happen too. It goes to show you how strong that bond was. And with the police, also as the judge said, no one wants to believe that there's a bad cop out there. Okay, but reality is that there's some very sick individuals, little ticking time bombs that are just waiting to explode. And now, thanks to the amazing world of YouTube, Facebook, videos, and everything, we have these ugly murders that have been perpetuated against people like the Duenas family, Oscar Grant. It's really changed it. But this isn't anything new under the sun. This has been going on since the longest. Okay, this isn't something that is, like Daryl Gates said after Rodney King. What was he said? There's an aberration. I can't believe this is happening. And any time that this type of thing is exposed, that's kind of the mindset that they take, where they take that bunker mentality, where they're trying to protect themselves, as we did with the Christopher Dorner situation. And so, as we know now, in February this year, had a really, really ugly incident, okay? An ex-LAPD officer and former United States Navy officer reservist snapped, okay? Anyone remember the name of Christopher Dorner? Yeah. while I'm sure none of us here condone him killing innocent people, this guy wanted his brain examined because he knew something was wrong with him. Okay, that was one of the requests he asked in his long manifesto that he wrote. This attack by this former officer left 4 people dead, 2 police officers, 3 police officers wounded. Okay, and it was one of the largest manhunts in LAPD history. Okay, now again, I want to just make it clear to the media, because usually whoever's in here, there might be some media, or there might even be some undercover cops. How you guys doing? Whoever's out there. Okay. They're watching us, people. All right.
Thank you. First of all, I want to commend everybody for their patience, their understanding, their flexibility, and their commitment. We knew coming into this that we all come from a spectrum of different political ideologies. We knew that some come from a different perspective of religious beliefs. We knew from the beginning that a lot of us are different raza, you know what I'm saying? Black, brown, white, yellow, indigenous peoples, right? We knew that, and we knew that that's challenging, right? But we're here united for one thing, and that is to fight police brutality, to fight for justice for the wrongful killings and the police abuse and brutality that exists in our community. Is that right? We kind of wanted to, because it was, we had some heated discussions on at lunch, and I was like, okay, you know, I understand where you're coming from, but here's where we're at today. So, the breakout session, let me tell you why this is, everything's important, but this one's critical in the sense that sometimes we go to conferences and we learn a lot, we listen to each other, but the hardest part is sitting together and planning things, right? There's already been a series of very powerful suggestions, right? March on Sacramento, right? Another conference like this up north in the Bay Area a year from now, right? Build for it, right? So there's some concrete things. So the breakout sessions, really we hope that by that time we've already expressed ourselves, we've learned, but that we're there more to say, this is what I would like to see. Here's the issue, like Brother Cephas, Uncle Bobby, the police bill of rights, how do we take that down and say, we need to hold these police killer cops and get them off our streets, right?